Om asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amrutangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lord, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from ignorance to illumination. Lead us from death to immortality. Om. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. Om prapanna parijataya totra vetraika panaye gnana mudraya krishnaya Gitamrita duhe namaha. Sarvopanishado gavo dogdha gopalanandanaha Partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dugdham gitamritam mahat vasudeva sutam devam kamsa chanuramardanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagadgurum mukam karoti vachalam Pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande paramananda madhavam. So in our last class, we had discussed how Arjuna, who was profoundly unhappy, and at first he doesn't understand what the suffering was due, why he was grieving. And he took a decision, I will not fight. And Krishna did not say anything. Then we saw, even if a person is very unhappy, and unhappiness can come due to various reasons. It could be natural, it could be God's grace, or it could be because of one's own karma phala. Any suffering comes because of three reasons. What is the first reason? Natural. In this world, heat and cold, and good and evil, light and darkness, happiness and unhappiness, these are very natural things. Nothing to do with spiritual life, nothing to do with a person's karma. The second reason is one's own past karma. And during our talks also we discussed how if a person really does punya karma, virtuous actions, what does he get? Dharma produces punya. Adharma produces papa. So we discussed an important point. What does punya do? Sometimes a person who has got punya, his external circumstances may be extremely favorable. He may be a rich person. He may live in an air-conditioned room. Or he could be very poor person. There is no such reason that a person who committed punya must always have externally result. For example, Kshudira, was he a virtuous person or not? But what happened? What about Sri Ramakrishna? Where did he live? How did he live? So it could be external circumstances might be favorable, might not be favorable. But one thing, they will always be very happy. Whatever they have, it gives them the tremendous amount of happiness. That ability to be happy, whatever be the circumstances, is the meaning of punya. Punya gives sukha. So you can also imagine, if punya gives sukha, what does papa give? Suffering. Whatever may be the circumstance, even the kings or rich people or people who are powerful, everyone is subject to sukha or dukkha as a natural cause or the result of one's own karma. There is a third cause of suffering? God's grace. Upon whomsoever God is very gracious, He produces intense suffering in the life of such a person with the idea that that person will develop detachment towards the world and comes soon to that person. This is hard for us to understand because a worldly person understands when God is gracious, He should give us more wealth, make us more worldly happy. But God gives such a person spiritual happiness, spiritual company. That is why it is said that three things are obtainable only through special grace of God. Three things by the special grace of God. Durlabham trayamevaitat daivanugraha hetukam manushyatvam mumukshutvam mahapurusha samshaya. Human birth, the desire for spiritual progress and the company of holy people, and an intense desire to progress in spiritual life comes. So three causes: natural causes, one's own karma phala, and the grace of God. That is hard for us to understand. Arjuna was grief-stricken. Then he thought all his grief was coming because of this war, unpleasant duty. But the Lord had made him understand, God made him enlightened that it has nothing to do. How do we know? Because he says, even if we win the war, not only winning this war means winning this kingdom, getting rid of these enemies, even if I can obtain the three worlds, this grief will not come to an end. Now, who is such a person who will be suffering even if he gets the whole universe? Who is such a person? He is a spiritual person. That is the characteristic of a spiritual person. That means any amount of worldly happiness may be granted to him, but he will not be happy. He will be happy only under one condition. See, I'll give you a small illustration. Supposing there are two things in this world. So one is God, another is the world. Just imagine two objects. So a person says that previously I used to get so much of joy from this object called world. Now he says, this world doesn't give me any happiness. Not only it doesn't give happiness, it is not even a neutral condition. It is giving me profound grief. So, what is his choice now? There are two things. One thing is giving him profound grief. But you must also understand that from the very beginning, if the world gives us grief, then there would be no worldly person left out. But what happens is a mixture of happiness and unhappiness. Show the carrot and only occasionally let the person bite a little bit. That is the nature of worldly happiness. So even this analogy is not absolutely right. The correct analogy will be, there are only two objects in this world, happiness and unhappiness. Unhappiness previously was mistaken as pure happiness. So when a person becomes wiser, then what happens? He understands, a little wise person understands, world is a mixture of happiness and unhappiness. But a wise person understands it is nothing but unhappiness. Because what we call happiness now is pay later on with compound interest. So Arjuna had tried that one. It didn't work. So there is only one choice left out. What is it? Is there any way for me to get rid of this unbearable suffering? He doesn't know. So he takes refuge in God. This is a most wonderful point, even from a psychological point of view. You know, when does a patient become all right? When a person, he understands that he has a problem, he accepts he has a problem, and then he chooses a person who he thinks can help him, and then it takes time for such a person to develop complete faith in that person, and he surrenders himself. Then only any psychiatrist or psychologist can really help. This is, I'm talking about day-to-day life. So what to speak of spiritual life? Even if Sri Ramakrishna himself gives us the advice, if we are not ready, we won't be able to take it. This is the simple truth. Arjuna somehow, by God's grace, he became a real Sishya. So the Sharanagati may take few minutes, may take few lives, may take many years. I'll give one or two examples. So one example is, there is a story in the Chandogya Upanishad, the last chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad, a story of Prajapati and two disciples, Indra and Virochana. Very briefly I will tell you, because I mentioned many times. So once Prajapati declared that he who realizes the self, all his desires will be fulfilled. Then he came. Both of them, they came. So very beautiful story. All humanity are divided into two classes. So the gods and the demons. So they chose elected one representative, one from the gods and one from the demons. Both of them came. And Prajapati asked, why did you come? Because we heard you declare that he who has self-knowledge, realizes the self, all their desires will be fulfilled. Now what is the idea here? There would be, when all the desires are fulfilled, what would be left out? No desire will be there. That is the state of perfect happiness. Our problem with the worldly fulfillment of desires is threefold. First, they only fulfill partial fulfillment. Atriptikaram. Anything you see, suppose you eat sweet, then you see it may fulfill your desire for sweet, one sweet, but you may like to see something, you may like to smell something, you may like to hear something, you may like to touch something. This is only one little desire, or just one indriya, one organ. It is called taste, tongue, let us say. So this is the first. Second is, every desire is absolutely temporary. Fulfillment of every desire is temporary. You eat sweet. How long will it last? Not even the time. How much time it takes to prepare a sweet and how much time it takes to finish it off. Happiness is gone. That is the second. That means very temporary. The third thing is, every desire fulfilled becomes like a Rakta Bija. You understand Rakta Bija? So one drop of, you know the story, one drop of blood of this special demon falls to the ground, another person comes up of equal proportion, if not more. So every desire fulfilled, it becomes a vasana inside, and it says, I want again and again. So for that purpose, we have to take rebirth. So how long there will be rebirth? So long as desires are there. That's what Holy Mother says. If a person's desires are completely fulfilled, there would be no rebirth. It is absolutely true. For what purpose? A person has to take birth only to finish one's karma phala. And karma phala comes up because of what? Unfulfilled desires. Whole life is a struggle for trying to get happiness and for not getting unhappiness. So that is what propels us to do actions. This is the truth. So these are the three problems: atriptikara, anityatva, and dukkha, bandha hetu. They produce bondage. What is bondage? I want it again. Okay. Arjuna, he has finished with the worldly life. He said, how do we know? His own statement. He says, Api trailokya rajyasya hetoho kimnu mahi krite. This grief of mine cannot be assuaged even if I get the 3 worlds. What to speak of this puny Hastinapura? Hastinapura is only one part of India. Even if I get 3 worlds, I will not be happy at all. I will be very unhappy. That means what? What is the statement he is making? Only God can fulfill my desires. I do not see any way. He did not know it. This was his statement. But he did not know. Is there such thing called God? And is it possible to realize him? He did not know. He has to know about it. But he is overcome by grief. That much we have seen. Then what he said, I will not fight until I find a way that I could come out of this situation of grief. So Sanjay was describing, Eho Muktva, having said this, Arjuna sat down, saying, Nayotsya Govinda, Tushnim Babhuva, simply kept quiet. But earlier to that, what did he say? Sishyasteham Shadimam Tvam Prapanna. I have taken refuge in you. I surrendered myself to you. I have become Sishya. Who is a Sishya? The very meaning of Sishya is he who would like to get instructions and obey them unquestioningly. That's why I also told you, Sikh. The word Sikh is a degeneration of the word, this Sishya. Right Sishya. Sishya has become Sikh, like Shudiram becomes Khudiram, Sikh. So now they have perverted it a little bit because of some political reasons, politicized it. Anyway, Sikh means an apt disciple who is ready to follow the instructions of the Guru Granth Sahib or Guruji. So Sishyaha aham, he declares, Shadhima, you command me. Shadhi means to command. Shasti, Shadhi, command me. No question of suggestion now. Command me. But you know, a good teacher never commands. Sri Ramakrishna never commanded anybody. Holy Mother never commanded anybody. They said, Baba, this is good for you to do, so you do it. Sri Krishna did not command. You know, how do we know? Because at the end, he said, I told you what I thought is best for you. Now you do what you think is best for you. Yeah. Ethechasi tatha kuru. As you like, think over it. I have told you whatever I know is good for you, but it is up to you. And Arjuna, of course, unquestioningly, he says that I have accepted your teachings. How do you know? Because my moha, I have taken your medicine. If a patient says, I have been taking your medicine, what is the proof that the medicine is working? If he is a good doctor, if he is a good patient, then by taking medicine regularly, he should be cured of his disease. That's what he said. Nasto moha smritir labdha. My moha is gone, destroyed. And smriti, I got back my rational thinking. Previously, I thought I was rational, but I was rationalizing. Now I know that that was wrong. Now what is true reason? I know what it is. And then he says, by your grace, tvat prasadan maya achyuta. And then he says, sthitosmi gata sandeha. I have absolutely no doubts. I know now what's my goal, what is my duty, and what I should do. Karishye vachanam tava. I will fulfill your desires. Now, this was the Arjuna's problem. What was Arjuna's problem? Intense grief. And it's very interesting that Bhagavan Sri Krishna, 11th sloka of the 2nd chapter, starts with this. Whoever is grieving, he is unwise or otherwise. Whoever doesn't grieve, he is wise. The whole world can be divided into two. wise and otherwise. So, what is the characteristic of a wise person? So, Sri Krishna now had to guide. He had accepted Arjuna as a disciple and he had to give the instructions. So, there is a three-pronged attack or three angles from which Sri Krishna wants to solve Arjuna's problem. Spiritual angle, moral angle, and commonsensical worldly angle. We will see how it comes through. So, we will just start now. Actually, Shankaracharya starts his commentary after the introduction only with this. The entire first chapter he ignores. But we know how important it is, the first chapter. It is not a story, it is the story of each one of us. And unless we also feel intense grief or intense suffering or intense dissatisfaction from whatever the world can offer, and unless we find a teacher, these are the two conditions. First, we must be suffering. Then we must know that no worldly object can fulfill our desire. And there is only one way. God alone can really grant me the answer. He alone can quench this terrible burning grief within me. And for that, I need a person. I need a guru. So I have to become a Shishya and I need a guru. These beautiful things, 7 points we have discussed. So please go back to those 7 points if you still remember. So we are coming here now where first time the teaching of Bhagavan Sri Krishna starts. And it is an extraordinary beginning. And according to many, this is the one shloka, verse, that is the very essence of Bhagavad Gita. What is the rest? Commentary. I remember once somebody approached a rabbi and asked him, Rabbi, I don't have much time. Can you tell me what Judaism is all about? So you can imagine Judaism, Hinduism, Islam. Then the rabbi said, I also don't have time, but I will tell you that what you don't want others to do to you and what you want others to do for you, you do it for others. This is the essence of Judaism. Rest is commentary. Yeah. So, what is it that we don't want others to do to us? We don't want anybody to give sorrow, suffering, grief, unhappiness to us, dukkha. And what is it that we want others to do to us? Sure. We always want others to make me happy. So, if that is my condition, then it is the same condition with everyone else. So, if we also do in the same way, it would have been wonderful. Anyway, I just remembered a story. I thought it's appropriate. So, one man, he died and he went to the other world. Then he found himself in between two halls facing each other. A denizen of that other world came and said that, where do you want to go? You have a choice. So one hall was written hell, another was written heaven. So he said, let me see both before I choose what is what. So he went, first the gentleman took him into the hall called hell. So what was doing? Hundreds of thousands of people were sitting, beautiful hall, beautiful tables, extraordinarily good food, all heaped good food, but they were all like skeletons. They were all suffering. Why? God provided everything, but their each hand is like 6 feet long. So they were trying to feed themselves and they couldn't succeed. Okay, let us see how heaven is like. So he entered. Exactly same thing. No difference at all. But everybody was so happy, very plump and fat and so satisfied. So what? They also have the same 6 feet hands, but they were feeding each other. So that is what Swami Vivekananda says. He who lives for others, he alone lives, and the rest is more dead than alive. This is the simple truth. There is a lot of philosophy. We will talk about it as we come across. So this is a spiritual crisis. This is the first point. It is not a worldly crisis. So Sri Krishna attacks this problem from 3 angles: spiritual angle, moral angle, and worldly angle. So how he does that, we will discuss now. First we will read. Sri Bhagavan Vacha Ashocya Nanvashocastvam Pragnavadamscha Bhashase Gatasoon Agatasumscha Nanushocanti Panditaha. The Blessed Lord said, you are speaking like a wise person, extreme wisdom. At the same time, you are grieving for whom you should never grieve. The Pandita or the wise man is one who doesn't grieve either for the dead or for the living. So, who is a Pandita? Here, Pandita means, Shankara's commentary is very useful. One who knows the self is a Panda. You know the word Panda in places of pilgrimage? So, the word Pandita also has come from that root. One who knows God, one who has self-knowledge, is called Panda. One who knows God, one who realized God, one who has self-knowledge, is a Pandita. The rest is Apanditas. What is the characteristic of a Pandita? A Pandita neither grieves for the living nor grieves for the dead. Neither grieves for the past nor grieves for the future. He doesn't grieve at all. Then what is his condition? He is extremely happy, filled with bliss. So that is a psychological point we have to understand. Can you imagine a neutral condition? Anybody can be in such a condition, neither happy nor unhappy. Can you imagine? It's impossible. It's impossible. Only sleeping time, we are neither happy nor unhappy. But in Jagrata Avastha, waking state, in Swapna Avastha, dreaming state, either a person is happy or unhappy. Here also an important point. No man can be happy or unhappy at the same time. You see, there is no question of even little bit of happiness for a second. That is a state of happiness. But afterwards, unhappiness may come or will really come. That's a very important point. So, who is a wise person? Who never grieves, neither for the past nor for the future. Very important point. But I will come to that later on. He started with this grief. That is the description. And who is an unwise person? However wisely he talks, he may give lectures, he may write books, he may do whatever he likes, but his face is grief-stricken, unhappy. Such a person is called an unwise person. So it is not who knows or who doesn't know. A person who is happy, he knows. Do you see the other point? He is a wise person who knows much. No, he is a wise person who is very happy. He is an unwise person who is not at all happy. This is the essence of Sri Ramakrishna's parable. Which parable? 2 people went into a garden. One fellow, he started to count. So how many trees are there, how many mangoes are there, and how many branches, how many fruits, he was counting. The other person, he met the watchman and pleased him, got his permission, got up into a tree and plucked the mangoes and started eating. Tell me now, who is the wise person, who is the other wise person. So what is the point Sri Ramakrishna is telling? That it is not what a person knows or speaks or reads or talks. What a person is, happy or unhappy. That is what the classification, who is wise and who is not wise. What a beautiful thing. So the parallel is, the Bhagavad Gita also ends with that point of grief. He says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papabhyo mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Ma shuchaha. Do not grieve, because I will make you very happy. You surrender everything to me like a child. This surrender also is of two types. Gnani surrender and Bhakta surrender. So Sri Ramakrishna also gives beautiful example. The young one of a monkey and the young one of a cat. So he marjaranyaya, markatanyaya. Markata means monkey. Marjara means cat. The young, a kitten, it doesn't do anything. The mother does everything for it. Whereas the monkey, have you noticed? Always it is clinging to the mother. Anyway, the point is, Bhagavad Gita starts with the word shoka, and Bhagavad Gita also ends with the word shoka. Ma shuchaha. There is nothing for you to grieve. Everything will be absolutely fine. So this first sloka, it is the very essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita by some people. Rest is a commentary. So what is important here? Why should not one grieve? Sri Krishna will come to that. But Shankaracharya, brilliant commentary, he gives us on this particular verse. So what is your problem? You are grieving. Why are you grieving? Apparently because you have to fight. And if you fight, what happens? Bhishma will die, Drona will die, etc., etc., etc. And I am the cause of their killing. Here, Shankaracharya gives 3 points, brilliant points. The first point he gives is that what is your idea about the other person? Now, here is a beautiful suggestion or the way we have to think. How do we think about the others? Tells much about what we think about ourselves. Say, here is a person, think, oh, he is a miser. How do I know that he is a miser? Unless I am miserly, how do I know what is called miserliness? He is a short-tempered man. How do I know he is a short-tempered man? Because I also must have. Do you get what is the point? Unless we know we have the same quality in us, we cannot judge the other person. Okay, I will give several examples. Very important point. Suppose you are a small musician, and another person claims he is a musician, very great musician. Now, how do you judge whether really how great the other musician is? How do you judge? To be able to judge the other person, his greatness in music, who can measure? Not only another musician. If he is 10% musician, his measurement will be only 10%. If he is a ustad, maestro, then only he will understand the other person also is a great musician. Is it not a fact? So that is what he is telling Arjuna. What do you think about Bhishma and Drona? So he gives 3 points of view. If you think Bhishma and Drona, if you think they are the self, they are not the body. You know what is the self? That which is not the body, that which is not the mind, that is called self. So if your idea about Bhishma, Drona, etc., so many others, if you are thinking that they are the self, can you imagine that you are the self and you are killed by somebody? Can anybody kill the self? Can the self kill anybody? Please try to understand what we are trying to, the Bhagavad Gita is trying to tell. Self is one which is never born. Self is one, naturally that which is born will die. Self is one which never is born. Therefore, the question of its growing up, its becoming old, and all these things will not happen. And self is one because it is eternal. That which is not born, there are only two categories. Either it doesn't exist or it exists all the time. Is it the point? So, if the self is eternal, what is your talk about, I am going to kill and they are going to be killed? These points immediately we will come there. So, this is first angle. Spiritual angle what? You are the self, Drona is a self. Here is a beautiful angle, If you are the self, can there be something which is called non-self? Very important point. In common language, what it means is, if you believe that God exists, then who are you? Simply ask, if God exists, what is your idea about God? Okay, we'll come to that point. This is the first angle, spiritual angle. The second angle is, Bhishma and Drona. Are they wicked people or are they dharmic people? Dharmic people. So, you have studied scriptures very well. They have studied very well because he is the brother of Yudhishthira. And who was Yudhishthira? Dharmaputra. So, having been born as the brother of Dharmaputra, if you don't know what is Dharma, and you have been preaching all this time what is Dharma, Naste Dharme Kolam Krishnam Adharma Vibhavatyuta, you have given a big lecture before. What is Dharma and what is Adharma. So, you are a Pandit as regard to Dharma. They are very dharmic people. If someone is really a virtuous person, what is the result of virtuous life? Punya. Punya means in those days, even today also, it means the person after death, where does he go? To heaven. So, if you kill them and they are very virtuous people, where do you think you are sending them? So, if they die naturally, they may go after 1 year. But if you kill them, they are going to go to heaven right now. And you are doing such a wonderful thing. Is it a cause for grief? This is the moral angle. And worldly angle is, you are born a Kshatriya and you are known as a great hero, and what do people think? Suppose you run away. Do you think they know your reasons why you have run away? They think, having seen Bhishma, Drona and others, you became frightened and you became cowardly and then you ran away. Is it not? Do people understand that why a person has withdrawn instead of fighting, though capable of fighting? How do we know? Because this was not the first time Arjuna was fighting with them. There are many occasions he fought. At least one occasion we know in Mahabharata. What is that occasion? Uttara Gograhana. When they were in their period of Agnatavasa had come to an end, Duryodhana was raring to find them out. If he finds them out, another 13 years. So at that time, they attacked and stole the cows of Virat Raja. You know that. No one was capable of facing because the whole Kuru army was there. At that time, Uttara Kumara, he was boasting, alone I will go and fight. The moment he saw them from 5 miles distance, immediately he jumped down the chariot and he was running away, Uttara Kumara. Then Arjuna was supposed to be his charioteer. So he caught hold of him and then he said, why are you running away? He said, my heart attack started the moment I saw all this. Because he never came and faced anything. Then Arjuna says, okay, you be charioteer, I will fight, don't worry. So he gave him courage. You know this story? He fought and single-handed he had brought back all the cows and kicked everybody out, including Bhishma, Drona, Karna, Duryodhana, everybody. And of course Duryodhana says, oh, find out whether we found Arjuna out before the time period was over. 1 year was over. And then Bhishma calculated and said, Arjuna was not a fool. Just 1 day, this is the 1 day after the time period was over. So there is no way legally you can bind them. So anyway, he fought them many times. So Arjuna was not a coward and he had that valor. He was a hero. So is this the first time he was facing the army? So he was not a coward. But do people understand that? They say, oh, Arjuna faced the situation, so he thought that running away is better than showing valor, and then he ran away. So that is what Sri Krishna himself tells here. Later on, people, they bring bad name for your behavior. Not only that. So what do you think you are doing? Is it your personal vendetta here, or the whole Pandava army is involved? Their fate is in your hands. These are the 3 angles. Now we will come back to the first angle. You are grieving. A wise person doesn't grieve either for the living or for the dead. And you are talking like a wise man, but you are behaving like a fool. That means what? That nothing of what you understood has given any fruit to you. It is all useless intellectual knowledge. And this Sri Ramakrishna gives a beautiful parable. Which parable? A Pandit was crossing a river in a boat. You know that parable? Okay. So what happened? The Pandit became very arrogant. So he wanted to show his Panditya to a illiterate boatsman. So he asked the boatman, have you studied Kavya? Kavya? What animal is that? I never heard that animal's name. 1/4 of your life is gone. And have you studied Vyakarana? Oh sir, I never heard about that animal also. Half of your life is over. Have you studied Dharma Shastra or Darshan Shastra? No, I never heard about what is the other thing. 3/4 of your life is wasted. 3 questions. Then a huge storm arose. The boat was tossing, and then the boatman asked only one question. Do you know how to swim? He said, no, your whole life is wasted. This is what Sri Ramakrishna is referring here. You are talking like a Pandit, but you are behaving like a fool. What can really save a person, not only from the ultimate grief, even from the smallest of grief? What is it that can save a person? Only the knowledge that I have nothing to do with this grief. It is a situation which comes, which goes, but it has nothing to do with me. This is also given another story. Small children, they hold a pillar and go round and round. They never fall. They are going round. You try any time, your head starts reeling. Go round and round, your head starts. Children know that, but they don't fall. Do you know what is the reason? The reason is that they know they are holding to the pillar. So long as they are holding the pillar, they don't fall. That means they are safe. What is that pillar? It is God. Those who hold on to God, they will never suffer. Even if they suffer, they don't care that kind of suffering. So wise people, not only they don't suffer, but it doesn't mean there is no suffering. If there is no suffering, and if a person doesn't suffer because there is no suffering, that is not heroism. But there is suffering, and the person is there right in the midst of the storm, and yet he doesn't suffer because he is holding on to the pillar of God. This idea also we will come across. So what is it? First point we have to note from this verse, why there are 2 types of people in this world, wise and unwise. What is the second point? What is the definition of a wise person? They never grieve either for the past or for the future. and they never grieve either for the living or for the dead. Let us take this point. Who is an unwise person? They grieve both for the past and also for the future. They grieve for those who are living, and they also grieve for those who are dead. So let us analyze this point from many angles. The first angle is, as we are living, are we living in the present? You notice that either we have been thinking about something, events that happened in the past, or you are thinking what is going to happen. How many times, how much time really you said, now I don't want to think about anything, but focus on what I am doing right now. Whether it is reading a book, whether it is playing a game, or whether it is driving a car, or whether it is you are eating some food, watching some movie. You know that double life we lead. We are reading a book, part of the little is there on the book, and part of the mind is, or most of the mind is thinking either what I did or what we are going to do. Is it not a fact? Okay. Anyone who focuses on the present, what is that situation called? A person is reading and he is focused only on the reading. A person is listening, is focused only on the listening. A person is watching a movie, say, he is only focused on watching. Whatever the person is doing, he is focused on it. That is called perfect concentration. But for concentration to come, this is called dharana. The word for concentration is dharana. But for dharana to come, a condition has to be fulfilled. What is that condition? Pratyahara. What is pratyahara? The ability to withdraw our mind from everything else but fix on it. Sri Ramakrishna again gives a beautiful example. A man was angling, angling for fish. Then a huge marriage procession, it is going. But he has never heard about it. Huge marriage procession, music and singing and bhajans, and people are nothing for several minutes. Why was he not listening? Because that bait was about to be, it is going inside. So his total focus is on how to watch. This is one example he gave. A bridal procession was going and he did not have, his mind was totally fixed upon this angle. So same thing, I think another one, one man wanted to go somewhere and he saw another man sitting on the bank and he was angling, and he asked, "Sir, what is the way to go to such and such a place?" First time he asked no reply, second time he asked no reply, third time he asked no reply. Then the man got disgusted and was proceeding. Then this man, after a few minutes, he shouted, "Hey, come back, come back." And he came back. "And why are you calling me back?" "So I thought you were asking me something." He said, "I asked you 3 times. You didn't reply." He said, "At that time, my mind was totally focused upon that bait which was floating and about to eat it. Now that I have finished, that I will reply." What was Sri Ramakrishna trying to convey through this story? Yeah, it happened to Swami Vivekananda. It's a beautiful story. He went to meet Paul Deussen and they were talking. They were in the drawing room. Then what happened? Paul Deussen went inside. Swamiji was wandering and he picked up a book and he was absorbed in reading it. Paul Deussen came. 2-3 times he wanted to ask Swamiji. He asked, he made some sound, but absolutely no reply. He became offended. He was the host and the guest was, it is an insult. He was not replying. After some time, Swami Vivekananda became aware, said, "Sir, you are asking me something?" Said, yes, I asked you 3-4 times, you didn't reply. Swamiji had to confess that when I do something, I am totally absorbed. So I am absorbed in this book. Sir, unfortunately, I did not hear. The point here is, did Paul Deussen meet anyone who could become so focused that he would be unaware that something else, somebody is asking something or anything? He never met in his life. Here was the first person. Paul Deussen got suspicious. Said, are you really so absorbed? Yes. That was a book which was printed recently and was not likely to have come across Swami Vivekananda. So he took that book, how much you have read, and he asked questions. Not only Swami Vivekananda answered correctly, he even verbatim, he quoted from that book. That was Swami Vivekananda's nature. Sri Ramakrishna makes a remarkable statement. Narayan is a born Siddha in meditation, Dhyana Siddha. He was a perfect in meditation. What is meditation? To be completely focused on whatever he was doing. A funny incident also happened. Swami Vivekananda was sick and everyone was afraid to do anything for Swami Vivekananda because he was Vishwamitra Rishi Samsha, very short-tempered man. Then what happened? They employed Swami Subodhananda, Khoka Maharaj, because Swamiji could never get angry with him. So one day Swamiji was reading something, absorbed, and it was time for him to eat and take medicine. So Swami Subodhananda came, cut like that, he closed the book, and Swamiji looked, Khoka, I was reading, now how do I find which page? He said, don't worry, I marked the page number. So after you are eating food, I will open it for you. And Swamiji was very pleased. Whatever Swami Vivekananda did perfectly well. What about Sri Ramakrishna? What about Swami Brahmananda? What about Mahapurush Maharaj? Any saint, this is the characteristic. What is it? Whatever they do, they are totally absorbed. What are we talking about? They live in the present. They don't think about the past. They don't think about the future. Okay. So what is the point here? A wise person lets the past drop, whatever happened, good or bad. Past is dead. That's why Jesus Christ says, let the dead past bury its dead. The future is totally unknown. We don't know what is going to happen. We are such fools. We think that we will live for another 30 years, 40 years, and this I will retire here and I will be doing this. We are thinking all the time. Like the fellow, there was a poor fellow. And he was so poor, he had a great desire to eat a chicken, but he didn't have money. So he decided, I will work so hard, I will earn so much money, I will be able to afford to eat a chicken a day. And he worked for 50 years. He earned enough money, but he lost all his teeth. So, too much of living in the future, we don't know. We see everyday news, young people is dying, accidents or bombing or whatever it is, we don't know. So does that mean that we should not think about the future or the past? Yes, we must think about the past only to learn our lessons. We must plan the future in such a way to avoid the mistakes so that how we can really lead a life of fulfillment, a life of meaning. Not I will have this house, I will have this money, something is necessary. But too much of attention to it, no. How can I become a happier person? This is a beautiful thought you keep with you and say, not where I live, how I live, but how can I be a happier person in future? And how to know about it? Find out what makes you unhappy now. That will give you a clue how to become happier in the future. So the Lord is started this, you are grieving. It is a fact you are grieving. A wise man doesn't grieve. Why doesn't he grieve? Because a wise man is one, according to him, who has got Atma Gnana. So, if anybody knows the self, he gives the characteristics of the self very soon. If anybody really leads with the knowledge of the self, there is no room for unhappiness and grievance. Why? First thing, we are people completely insecure. What is unhappiness? Insecurity. Insecurity comes from what? Another name for insecurity is fear. Fear comes only because of two reasons. The cause of fear are only two. We know what are those two? One, that losing what we have, and fearing that what we desire we will not get. You just, such a true statement. You just think in your mind about this. So we are all insecure people because we depend upon the body, body may go. We depend upon the mind, mind also may go. Because what is mind? Do you know what is mind? For us, mind has many meanings. One meaning is the ability to think deeply, the ability to feel deeply, expansively. But for us, do you know what?
Our identity.
No, memory. Everything depends upon memory. Memory. So who I am depends upon what? Our memory. Supposing a person loses his memory, what is it called? Amnesia. So temporarily we can lose amnesia. But permanently, if there are people, you know what is dementia. What is dementia? The person, you ask him, who are you? He doesn't remember. He can't remember his parents, his children, his family members, nothing. Sometimes vaguely a little bit they remember. You see what a condition it is. I know some cases I read in the Reader's Digest. A man, a grown-up man, married man with children, he disappeared. So the family members, they reported to the police. Police went on searching. They couldn't find. After 8 years, they found him living in a nearby town with a different name. He got married there. He was having children there, and he was caught. Then he was asked, why did you run away? He said, what do you mean by I run away? He had absolutely that memory of that past life as though wiped clean, and a new memory has come. Can you imagine that? It's a rare case, but it happens. Now what is my point? What are we driving at? Our whole life, when we say our mind, it is our mind means our memories. You say our knowledge. You may be an engineer, you may be a doctor, you may be anything. All this knowledge of doctorate and engineering, medicine and all those things depends upon what? It's memory. Our identity depends upon what? Memory. If this memory, something happens to this memory, my whole personality is totally lost. That's what Arjuna replied, Smriti labdha. I got back my memory. What do you mean by? Had you been suffering from dementia? No. You were suffering from the case of false identity. I thought I was Arjuna, I was a Kshatriya, I was a Pandava, and these people did something wrong to me, and I wanted to take revenge. That was my identity in the past. Now I know it is a totally wrong identity. What is your identity now? Your identity is I am the Atman. And if I am the Atman, who was Bhishma? Who was Drona? Who was Karna? Who was all this? Duryodhana? Who was Duryodhana? Very interesting question. If anybody knows I am the Atman, and you ask that person who is Duryodhana, is he your enemy? He says Atman. This is the simple truth. Then what is all this? As they are fighting with you, you are fighting with them. It goes by a name. You know what is that name? Leela. It's a divine sport. That's it. Because there is no reality to it. So, from a worldly reality point of view, there are 2 points are there. One point is you live a moral life. If you think your body and mind, your future, your happiness, your unhappiness becomes reduced, your happiness becomes increased only on one factor. What is that factor? Your karma. So if you lead a dharmic life, then you will get worldly happiness. Your worldly unhappiness, to a great extent, will become less. That's the first angle. The second angle is, every person has a duty. Even a worldly person, he is a citizen of a country, of a place. So he has a duty. If he neglects his duty, then people will bring bad name to him. This was the angle Bhagavan Krishna had taken. If you think you are a worldly person, think how you can be honored by other people, especially having lived an honorable life. If you run away from this fight, then what do people think? For your whole, not only whole life, for foreseeable historical times, your name will be spoiled. How do we know? We read Mahabharata. When did Mahabharata take place? Anyway, sometime, 3,000 years back, 5,000 years back, or 1,000 years back, it doesn't matter. That is history, isn't it? Whenever you think of Shekuni, what's your idea? So you see, that fellow behaved in a particular way. Was he thinking that my name for the next 3,000 years will be a bad name? So whenever we read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we have to salute Sidhu. His name is there. But again, the idea comes to my mind, what a wretched fellow. He could have come to Sri Ramakrishna, he could have been blessed, but he introduced M and disappeared. And what about your Duryodhana? Their names, even now we are, after so many years, we are remembering Duryodhana as what? So, O Arjuna, if he had run away, and if this Mahabharata story had come today, how would we have remembered Arjuna? As a coward. This is what he is telling. How could you bear being born in such a noble family, etc.? So, coming back to our point, Ashocyan, a wise person never grieves. Because who is a really wise person? One who knows the nature of the self. That means what? One who knows that I am the self. How do we equate? Supposing you say to a person, do you know about God? Yes, I know about God. And tell me, what's your idea about God? So God is everything. God is everywhere. God never dies. God is eternal. God is infinite. Two statements. No, we take God is eternal means what? There is no change in Him. God is infinite means what? He is everywhere. Now tell me, if God is everywhere, then what is this table? Then who are you? What is your body? Because that must be also nothing else but God. Do you see the implications? Otherwise you have to say, accepting the things we see, God is everywhere. That is the implication that comes. But you can't say that. You will have to say that God is everywhere means God is everything. God is everything. If you say God is everything, you reverse it. Everything is God. Think of it. If God is everything, everything is God. It is the truth. That is what Vedanta wants to tell us. Everything is nothing but God. If you go to Visishtadvaita, it tells us slightly differently. Everything is God, everything is contained in God. Everything is a part of God. If God is divine, then everything that consists of Him is nothing but must be divine. Maybe it is a small particle, but that is what it says. Every soul is nothing but God only. Everything is nothing but God only. That is the idea here. So that he is a person who knows this fact. So if he knows everything is God, who is he? He is God. And if he knows he is God, he realizes it through sadhana, and then he will he grieve? Because if he is God, everyone is also God. Then what is this fighting and all those things? It can be only justified in one way. What is it? Everything is nothing but a play, a make-believe. This is the truth. So that's what he is telling. So, O Arjuna, do you fall in which category? There is no need to ask, because already he is proving. What is he proving? By his grief, he is proving that he is not an Atmagna. He is an ignorant person. He is an ignorant person. That is why he took. There is a funny story, you know. Vyasa's father sent Shukadeva to get instructions from Janaka Maharaja. And Janaka Maharaja met him and asked, what do you want? I want Atmagnana. I want the knowledge of the self from you. Janaka Maharaja said, first fees, pay the fee. He said, Pa, you are not even given first lesson and you are already asking for. Then Janaka Maharaja said, the moment you understand you are the Atman, there would be no guru, there would be no feast. So that's why I am asking first you pay the fee. There was this fellow who went to a doctor. Doctor asked him, what's your problem? He said, Doctor, I have terrible forgetfulness. I forget everything. Doctor said, do you want me to cure you? He said, yes. First give me the because if you are not cured, I won't get my fees. So, you are talking like a wise man, behaving like a foolish fellow. That is an important point. It is not what we talk, it is not what we read, it is not what we write, it is what we really are. That is important. So, a wise man, even a little bit, I am not talking about 100% wise man. He who is a wise man, suppose there is a wise man, he is 100% wise, that means he knows he is the self. His happiness will be how much? 100%. He is 50% wise. How much will be his happiness? 50%. If he is 1% wise, how much will be his happiness? 1%. Now we have to judge ourselves by the percentage of happiness we have, whether we are wise or we are wise. Either way. So, Ashocyan Anvashochyastam Prajna Vadamsi Bhashasi. What is Bhagavan Krishna telling through this? O Arjuna, become a wise person. Do you see the point? You are grieving, you are talking wisely, but you are grieving. But wise people, by definition, do not grieve. So, why did you come to me? Because you are grieving and you wanted to get rid of your grief. And what is the way to get rid of the grief? Just now he gave the solution. What is the solution? Become wise. If you become wise, you will only be a very happy person. You will never grieve. And how to become wise? What is the meaning of being wise? The whole Bhagavad Gita, as I said, any scripture like this must fulfill 3 points. Tattva, Purushartha and Hita. Tattva means what is the truth. Purushartha means why we should have that goal. What is the goal? Then Hita means what is the way to reach that goal. What is the Tattva? To become a wise person. What is Purushartha? Means what is the goal of life? To become wise. What is the way to become? So he says, either through bhakti, devotion, or through any yoga, Sankhya, or Karma Yoga, or Bhakti Yoga, Raja Yoga, or Gnana Yoga. There is the way is there. Then how do we know that it is correct? That is what Arjuna conclusively proves. Nasto mohaha. So moha is translated as what? Ignorance. As delusion. Delusion is born of ignorance. Ignorance means what? Misunderstanding things is called ignorance. Wrong understanding of things is called ignorance. This usually we say, do you know such and such a person? Say, no, I don't know. That is called total absence of knowledge about a particular subject. But that's not what we are talking here. Here ignorance means you see something, but you think it is something else. Like in semi-darkness, you see something and you think you are definite it is a snake. This is called ignorance, because there are 2 points there. So there is something and there is no controversy. Whether it is a rope or a snake, there is no controversy, there is something. But what is that something? So here is a beautiful statement. There is something. So after light is brought, here is a rope. So here is a rope. But before the light is brought, in semi-darkness, semi-darkness is a very important condition. Because if it is total darkness, you won't see anything. If it is total light also, you don't need anything. So you see something, but you don't have right knowledge about it. So here is the beautiful analysis of this trend. There is a rope. So the ignorance is not about there is. The ignorance is about what is that something. So that is, what is this object? We say it is a table. That's why I gave this my favorite illustration. What is that? If you ask a woodworm, he says it is wood. If you ask a human being, says it is a wooden table. If you ask a physicist, what does he say? He says it is nothing but energy. And if you ask a saint, he says it is nothing but God. Same object, 4 views. And all of them are right from their points of view. But from the ultimate point of view, 3 of them are wrong. So how do we know they are wrong? Because any knowledge that is sublated, sublation means you had some idea, now better light has come, then you changed your opinion about that. That means your knowledge has become a little better knowledge and a little better knowledge. But once you know what it is, after that there is no sublation. It is final. So if you ask a saint, that is a final knowledge. What is the knowledge? It is nothing but God. So I will just close today's talk with one point here. So what is this God? Because so much, what is the self, what is God, it is the same, different names. So when you say here is a table, 4 different views we said. So what is the saint's view? It is God. What does that mean? That means is the woodworm thinks it has got the lowest type of knowledge. Its mistake is 75%. If you ask a human being, his mistake is 50%. If you ask a scientist, his mistake is 75%. But if you ask God, you know what he says? There's something beautiful point here. He says it is. He doesn't say it is a table. He simply says it is. Then what is the advantage? What is this? It is. What is the other one? It is. What is the other one? It is. For everything it is. It is means what? It is existence per se, not manifestation of existence with a particular name and form. That means absolutely there is no distinction, because how many existences are there? Only one existence is only one. Knowledge is only one. And how many anandas are there? Only one. If it is little, you call it worldly. If it is a little more, you call it intellectual. If it is a little more, you call it aesthetic. If it is still more, you call it moral. And if it is 100%, do you follow what I am saying?
The greater the generalization, the broader is the
Yeah,
salvation.
because existence can never come to an end. But manifestation comes to an end. Bhishma is, Drona is. Say, who is that? He is, he is, he is. No problem. But the moment he says Drona, Drona means a name for a particular body. He is already one foot in the grave. So this is what Sri Krishna wants to convey. The wise people are those who realize the self. And the self only is. That is called Sat. And to know that it is Sat is called Chit. And to know Sat and Chit are one and the same, that person, that is, he is the happiest person in the world, because there is no change, there is no small or big, and there is absolutely no absence of this existence. That is called Ananda, Sachidananda. That's the name for God. So the third angle that we were discussing, if you think, O Arjuna, Bhishma and Drona are bodies. What is the nature of any body? If you don't kill, how long are they going to live? They are going already 1 foot in the grave. So maybe they will thank you, but if they are punyavans, dharmic persons, you are helping them to reach their happiness sooner than they think. But if they are the self, then there is no Bhishma, then there is no Karna, there is no Pandava, there is no Kaurava, it is absolutely one. These are the three angles. Very soon we are going to see in our next class. We will not have class on 29th. We are supposed to have Gita class, but we will not have. Do you know why? Kali Puja is there that day. In a devotee's house, Kali Puja is there. So I will close today. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.